And boy, that was god awful. I don't know how you describe that game, but for a while there, I thought Olin had it nailed, but the Bears, dropped the 2-point conversion. Wow. Pat, that was god awful.
Yeah, it was just bad. We had that embarrassment on Thanksgiving, and fortunately this game was not prime time, but this is a different type of embarrassment. I mean, it's now time for the players to look in the mirror. They're done blaming coaching, right? They got what they wanted done. Matt Eberflus is not there. We all heard him all week say, hey, it's better now that he's gone. It's basically what they said. Well, now it's time to look at yourself, because that was an embarrassment. That was an embarrassment of play for players. Obviously, the coaches got out coached. You have a backup DC, backup offensive coordinator going against Shanahan and Nick Sorensen and Brandon Staley over there, and they got pantsed. They got out coached bad, especially in the first half. When you see those stats of 300+ yards to 4 yards, that's embarrassing. So it's just bad how bad this problem is. But the thing is, to me now, of all the coaches or all the players been complaining about the coaches, it's time for them to look in the mirror and think about themselves and figure it out.
Yeah, it's well said, Pat. And we went into the game, thinking like the 49ers had a huge advantage on their coaching staff, right? And how were they going to overcome it? If the NFL is what we think it is, then we know that, energy and a bump and playing harder, those things don't win a lot of football games in the NFL, right? Talent and elite coaching usually wins. And when you have a guy like Kyle Shanahan, you better show up with a game plan. Right, and their defense coordinator Sorensen did a great job too with those complex zones he was showing Caleb in the first half and the offense, and Thomas Brown. And you move Thomas Brown from OC to head coach and give him more duties. It's hard enough to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL, and everybody up there at Hallisall acting like, man, everything's going to be all right now. It was crazy to me all week, right? And that's why when you guys asked me what I thought the score was going to be, I said 31-14. I know I was off by 1 point and 7, right? Because look, I mean, all you gotta do is look at them, look at who they're going against, look at who they're going to play. We asked the 49ers radio guy, like you're telling me they're decimated, but when I look at this roster, the talent still matches up with the Bears, right?
Yeah.
So it's just eventually someone like you're saying, Pat. Pregame we said they're like Neo from the Matrix, the way they avoid responsibility, right? The players for the Bears. There is film, right? When the players are talking, I'm wondering if they are really watching the film. Are the coaches really telling them, look, this is your responsibility. This is really what you have to do there, right? Like we're saying, okay, Eberflus got fired for game management, and no one would argue that with his record, his game management. But Pat, at the end of the game, I mean, I watched the Bears extra point today. Guess what the left side of the line did on the field goal?
Yep.
They got run over.
Yep.
Again.
Yep.
Right? Again. They have not fixed that. They have not fixed that. Cole Kmet drops a pass, right? It's just DJ Moore drops a pass. A lot of guys doing the talking are not making the plays that need to be made to win football games. So, like you're saying, eventually, I don't even know, guys, like, even if the players take blame now, I don't know what that does. Right? I don't know what that does. You have the same guys in the building.
Yeah, and they just got to play better. I mean, I'll give you another example. Tremaine Edmonds gets beat by Kittle, right? And he kind of loafs after him going into the red zone. There was another play, I think it was the last touchdown, where they walked in. The wide receiver, Chris Connolly, is washing him down on the goal line. And I'm like, that shouldn't be happening. A wide receiver should not be taking your 6'5", 265-pound middle linebacker and getting you washed down in the goal line. I think a little bit he was schemed up. I think Kyle Shanahan had a nice little scheme where he got him on the side, but there's just things like that you see that, guys, you got to pick up your play. You're getting paid a lot of money to be the stars of this team. You're a captain, all that kind of stuff. And that's why I'm saying that the players got to look in the mirror. And Olin, you're right. I just think they're so far stuck in whatever they're in right now that what is that going to do? I don't know. But I would love to hear them personally take responsibility of their play and say, yes, that's embarrassing. That's not good enough. Instead of saying, well, if Coach would have made a better call. Yes, all that's true. But really, it's down to these players right now. They need to, for these next 4 games, really look at themselves and say, okay, what can we do to not go out there and embarrass ourselves? That's what they've been doing. They've gone out there and embarrassed themselves at the end of games, and especially this one with their play.
Yeah, I heard they got Eberflus on the cell phone so they could all scream at him. after this game.
Oh man,
it's just when you listen to these guys talk, Mully, you got to actually Pat will probably say this too. I don't want to speak for him, so I'll speak for myself. We actually pull back on the radio, right? We actually don't say everything we really think about the things we hear coming out of Haugh, about the things that are said on the podium by coaches and players. I heard too many coaches this week talking about, we talked about the problems that we had and we're going to fix those. And it was just too much, Thomas Brown, not against him, obviously. I mean, he's in a tough spot. He's got to clean up this mess. But, Pat, when he said, look, good coaches, they stay, bad coaches are gone, and great coaches get promoted. Like you don't realize you're talking about Eberflus and yourself then, I guess, when you say that. Right? It's just when I hear these things, I can almost guarantee a loss for a team because in my mind, you have no self-awareness of what you're actually saying, of what's actually going on in the building. And here's the thing, Mully and Pat, when people talk about why do people keep saying put a football guy in the building, right? Put a football guy to oversee some of the things that are going on. Because when you're talking about, Pat, when you're talking about Tremaine Edmonds, the football guy who knows what's going on would put that film on and ask Ryan Poles, what did you see when you gave this guy $70 million and you let Roquan go? Yep. Right? What did you see in Nate Davis? Right? What did you? Who the rumor is now he walked away from the team against the Patriots. Right? What did you see in him? Like someone has to ask the questions that actually understands what they see on film, and that's what Haugh is missing: the self-awareness of what is actually going on in the building, on the football field with your football team. They do not have it up there, and we can say it over and over again until they get sick of it. It does not matter.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, the opening of the game was absolutely abysmal. The first half, you had more punts than yards, if that's humanly possible. They said
it was the same first half as last week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Only, I guess they're a second half team, but you can't fault. They were down 16-0 at halftime last week. They were down 24-0 this way. I mean, I don't know. I guess I just don't know how you start that poorly. Where is this coach bounce that everybody was talking about?
I got a question for you guys. Is this good coaching that they play so poorly in the first half that they have to come out and prevent defense for the second half, and then Caleb can go out there and sling it around? Is that what they're trying to do? I'm just joking, but it's been that bad, right?
Wow.
Like they changed the defensive game plan in the second half because they're down by so much.
Mully, it's what we were worried about going into the game, right?
Yes.
Because if you watch the film, you saw Coach Eberflus making play calls in the red zone, putting his guys in position to make plays, right? And to be honest, today it looked like they weren't matching their coverage with the call up front, and Kyle Shanahan was outguessing Eric Washington today. And look, like we talked about going into the game, you're talking about a top 2 or 3 play caller in the whole NFL, man. I mean, what a time to get your opportunity, right? What a time to get your shot going against a guy who needs to win to keep his team in the playoffs. And you saw it today. You saw them making plays.
Well, I love George Kittle because he's a Bears fan. He grew up in Iowa. His old man was a Bears fan. He's always talking about it. I get a kick out of that guy. I don't understand why you left him in zone coverage the entire bloody game. It seemed like every time he caught the ball, he was kind of ready to put his head down and run for another 10 yards. There was no one in the same area code in some of those. The zip code was different for the defender versus a tight end. I don't know that made an ounce of sense to me.
Yeah, well, those tight end screens were pretty elite play calls too. You know what I mean? Those are plays you really can't double, right? That's just kind of schemed up and putting him in the spot that he's just going to get the ball. And he's one of those players that's just a difference maker when he's on the field, no matter if he's double teamed or not. You just scheme up plays where you get the ball in his hand, 1 yard down the field, 2 yards down the field, he's still going to do something. And that's credit to, obviously John Lynch or whoever drafted him there to get that player and develop him, but also Kyle Shanahan scheming that stuff up, because that's just, it's unfair, but when you have a player like that, that's just great coaching to put him in a position to be able to do what he can to max his skill out. It's kind of impressive what Kyle's doing.
Yeah, he recognized really early how aggressive the Bears were, right, Pat? And
Yes.
you're talking
Hit 'em.
about that screen earlier on
Yep.
the first drive to Kittle, and they brought Kyler Gordon on the blitz.
Yep.
The running back picks him up. The Bears are really aggressive trying to stop the run. And then, like the linebackers, when they're aggressive against the run, they run up to stop the run, and they turn and run to cover the pass in zone. And perfect play call by Kyle Shanahan and execution, hitting Kittle there. But that's what you thought going into the game. That's what you thought if you're a longtime observer of the NFL, when you heard everybody saying, man, the Bears are moving in a different direction, and they got these new coaches, and they all feel so much better about the way they feel in the building. I've never seen that win football games in the NFL, man. I never have. I've seen a good game plan and good football players that go out there and have been preparing since maybe March or April for football games in December. I've seen that win football games. I really have, man. But the whole, we talk to each other and we all get along, and we're going to play harder, and we love what he says, and we love what this guy does. I've never seen that win in the NFL. I just haven't. As long as I followed it, as long as I played, the better players and the better coaches always win in the NFL.
Yep. The losing streak for the Niners was at 3 games. And in those 3 games, they had, I believe it was 7 explosive plays. They had 7, which are plays of 20 or more yards. They had 7 by halftime. It just felt like they could do anything that they wanted to do.
Yeah, Mully, it was funny. I started writing down all those stats, and then I just quit.
Yeah.
I got tired because I'm not watching the game. If I'm writing down those stats to try to follow them, I got screw it. I'm just going to watch the game. But you're right. I mean, it was just an embarrassment in the first half, and they just got out-coached, got outplays. I mean, that's exactly what it is. When you see that stat, when they show that on Fox, 314 yards or whatever, 300 whatever yards to 319 to 4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a high school team, your top high school team going against a starter feeder school or something, and you don't have that in the NFL. Like, that's something you look at as a player when you get in the bus. Olin, we'd always get in the bus. You get your the stat sheets. Always look and see what everybody had and what's going on. And that one, you just, as you're playing, you probably don't know it, but you get on the bus afterwards, you're just shaking your head like you knew it was bad, but when you read that, you didn't know it was that bad, and that's not good.
I remember we played the Eagles in 2000 and would have been the 2002 playoffs, right? It was the 2001 season. We were 13-3. And we went to that game, and I thought to myself, I feel like they know exactly what we're doing, right? I thought like they just, on the field, it felt like you didn't have much of a chance, Pat, right? It just felt like these guys are very good. And years later, and anybody can look this up, 2001, you take a look at that defensive coaching staff and how stacked they were. The Philadelphia Eagles with Jim Johnson calling plays, and Ron Rivera and Sean McDermott. And just Leslie Frazier, they were just coach after coach, right? And it was like watching the Bears when the Bears had Lovey and Rod Marinelli and all these really good coaches. You're kind of watching that today with Kyle Shanahan, right? He's just a step ahead. He's a step ahead, and that's why I'll continue to say that what do you think the score of this game is going to be, Olin? Well, 31-14, right? That's what I think the score is going to be, just because they have a better coaching staff, right? They have guys like Brandon Staley putting together that third down package that Caleb was looking at today, that zone, right? That zone. I mean, even I was like, where the hell do you throw that ball? Right? Where the hell are you going to throw that ball?
Right.
They never, I thought Vilma did a good job talking about how Thomas Brown didn't commit to the run early, right? Because the 49ers was just dropping back into their deep zone, 2 deep safeties, and they weren't giving them anything. They were just giving them all the underneath stuff, even when they want to take a shot. So just, a game like that, the one thing you can hope if you're a Chicago fan is that our young coaching staff, and like Pat is saying, the players take some responsibility. Our young coaching staff learns a little bit from that game and gets better and better as we go here. But obviously, this team, man, as we know, Pat and Mully, watching the film, studying them all year, as we know, this team, your only problem wasn't Coach Eberflus.